Welcome back to Racing Across America. As promised before the break, we are joined now by Dan Collins from Bona Venture Stables, a partnership that's in the game. Some success certainly up here at Saratoga so far this season. We'll talk about what's headed in the second half of the meet. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning.
Bona Venture Stables, before we get into specifics, why don't you just give us a little overview?
Well, we're a pretty small organization. We operate between 8 to 10 horses on a regular basis. Right now we have 9 in training. And we've been in business since about 2005, and we had probably our biggest breakthrough in 2011 when for the first time we went to the Breeders' Cup.
And we have a little shot of some Breeders' Cup action that we'll get to. Before we do that, though, Bona Venture, does that tie into any alumni situations? Because I had a nice Bona Venture couple walk up to me the day after Majestic Bonnie won and had recognized me from television. We had a great conversation, but both St. Bonaventure graduates. And I said, you know, my brother's a St. Bonaventure graduate. I'm going to have to talk him into participating. But give us the background there.
So it is. We started as a group of 4 or 5 guys who all went to St. Bonaventure. I went to St. Bonaventure. I'm on the board of trustees at St. Bonaventure. Happen to be the vice chairman of the board of trustees. And as a result, we got together and we started to play around with claiming a couple horses. They were terrible. But then we got serious about it. So about 50% of our partners have some relationship to St. Bonaventure University.
Nice. And we have the website up there. If people want more information, jump on there and you can find out all about it. As I say, my brother lives out in Colorado, and he's not a big horse racing fan, but I may have to twist his arm and give him a good reason to come out here and visit occasionally. Let's go back. As I say, I talked to this couple, nice couple that I had a conversation with earlier in the meet, and it was the day of or the day after Majestic Bonnie, and let's take a look at her performance. July 24th, this is race number 2, career debut, number 9, will be Majestic Bonnie. Just gets up by a head at a nice price of 12 to 1. Pulled up her 2-year-old sales page. She worked a nice 10.2 before the sale. She's a sibling to Archer Hill, who won that one's career debut up here at Saratoga in 2012. So you jumped in the 2-year-old sale with a little bit of breeding, and it all paid off in this career debut. It
really did. She made a great move coming off the final turn, showed a great turn of foot coming down the stretch, and just nipped the other horse at the wire, but as the jock said afterwards, she had a lot left in the tank, so we're looking forward to her next start.
And talk a little bit about the next start.
Well, we're pointing toward the P.G. Johnson on September 1st here at Saratoga. We think that's a nice setup for the fall stakes, and hopefully we're optimistic, but a lot of people are, that we could see a return to the Breeders' Cup in end of October, early November.
And talk a little bit about Majestic Bonnie being just another one of horses you've had success with up here at Saratoga with.
We have. As a matter of fact, we've run 3 fillies as 2-year-olds at Saratoga. All 3 have won their first time out on the turf at Saratoga. We started with Royal Bonnie in 2011, Summer of Fun in 2012, and now Majestic Bonnie in 2016. And ironically, the first 2 also went on to both run in the Breeders' Cup, and Summer of Fun took a 3rd place in 2012. So we've had good success with 2-year-old fillies on the turf at Saratoga.
Yeah, and as you said, being a small partnership to have that kind of success at Saratoga, that's got to be great, because really the partnerships, it's as much the social aspect, I think, as anything, and Saratoga is all about the social part of the game, and so to win up here at Saratoga just has to be a jewel on the cap.
It is, and we really encourage a lot of new owners to become partners. We're a small organization. We've never priced a 10% share above $18,800. That's been the most expensive we've done, so we buy reasonable horses. We don't mark them up. We share in the profits just like anybody else does. It's a family-run business. My wife's the chief financial officer. My 2 daughters are the marketing directors. My son-in-law is one of our customer representatives, if you will. Nobody draws a salary. We do this for fun and to try to encourage other people to get involved. I'll give you one other example. In Majestic Bonnie, we have one partnership that owns a 10% share. It's 14 guys under the age of 30. It's the first time they've ever owned in a horse, so we really try to encourage new ownership and young ownership to keep this industry going.
So they took a share and then broke that up
themselves. They took a share among themselves. We treat them as one share. I have one lead partner, if you will, who we communicate with, but everybody's on the mailing list. Everybody's invited and treated as an owner. We also hold an annual weekend here at Saratoga. This year we had 107 participants. We rented out the Gaffney's for 2 hours on a Friday night. We had an open party for everybody there. We took them out to the stables on Saturday morning, and then everybody was our guest in the paddock tent for the entire afternoon of races. So we try to treat everybody very well.
Yeah, as I say, the social aspect is just as important, particularly up here at Saratoga. And if everybody's having fun, that's what it's all about. But then you toss in great performances, and it becomes even more exciting. And I had to pull up because for any owner, and for a small group like you, this has to be just phenomenal. We're going to go back to 2012 November out at Santa Anita, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. Flotilla is going to win this race. What's the chances we'll run second, but it is number 2, Summer of Fun, running third at 43 to 1. Boy, to place in a Breeders' Cup race just has to be fabulous.
It was a pretty special experience. We were just hoping to have a great race. She had a little trouble in the race. Ramon Dominguez said we clearly would have been second if he could have gotten out a little earlier, but finishing third in our second appearance at the Breeders' Cup was amazing. And I'll tell you, when the ESPN cameras came on us, we were probably celebrating more for our third place finish than the winners were.
And it's just, as I say, that's what you shoot for, obviously, in this game, and to wind up out there. I'll also note, I was pulling up your career stats, 2015, and this doesn't include, because your partner's in horses, so Equibase kind of parses those out, but just under the Bona Venture name, last year, 2015, 47 starters, 11 wins, 6 seconds, 5 thirds. That's a pretty good season.
It was a pretty good season, and you know, we're in the money about 45 to 50% of the time with our horses. We run a limited number of horses. Obviously, if you've only got 8 or 9 in training, you can't run 150 times. So we choose our spots carefully and wisely.
Yeah, and again, it's to have a small partnership like that, to put up numbers like that, to have the record at Saratoga you've had, just phenomenal. Pulled up some training video. I mentioned I pulled up the 2-year-old sales page earlier. I tied it into Majestic Bonnie. It's not Majestic Bonnie. It's your horse that's coming up later. I had the sales page for Majestic Bonnie here someplace too. But the one I was referring to is the horse you'll have, who when we talked, you said likely to start at this meet, going with Leah Giamatti. You bought this horse at a 2-year-old sale earlier. This is the one, worth 10.2, sibling to Archer Hill, who, as I say, won its career debut up here at Saratoga in 2012. Talk a little bit about this purchase from Ocala earlier this year that you plan to have. And as I say, we have some training video, I think, of this one from that 2-year-old sale. Talk about this one, who we'll see later in the meet, perhaps.
This is a filly by Discreet Cat. We've named Alley Oop. You'll see a common theme. A lot of our names are either around Bonaventure or basketball. But Alley Oop is a great filly that we purchased at the sale. Leah is very, very excited about her. She's very, very quick in the morning, and we expect her to run at the end of the meet. I think the filly race is on September 5th. So she's a New York bred as well, so I think you'll be hearing a lot about her.
All right. Alley Oop coming up, mark that. And just before we move on, give us the philosophy as far as your horses, what you're looking for when you buy horses and form the partnerships.
When we look for horses, we look for 2 things. Right now, we're concentrating primarily on fillies because we believe they have value off the racetrack as well. So you'll see a lot more fillies. We also have about 50% of our horses are New York breds. We really are committed to the New York bred industry and to participating year-round in New York. And we tend to prefer turf runners for some reason. There's no science to that, but we do. We look for reasonably priced horses with good pedigree. So we're looking for horses we just purchased a horse here on Sunday night at the New York bred sale. It's a filly. It'll be a turf runner by Lonro, the Australian champion. We're really excited about him, or her, excuse me, because she's got great bone structure. So, and we look for something that's reasonably priced. If it's a yearling, we look for the $75,000 to $100,000 range. If it's a 2-year-old, we're looking in the $75,000 to $125,000 range because we want to keep all of our partnerships affordable for everyone.
So you say you look for fillies because of their added value. Do you keep and breed, or do you sell at the end of the career?
So we do a little both. Summer of Fun we sold at the end of her career. And we got a great price for her. We got about $375,000 for her. She won about $350,000. partners put in about $15,000 apiece.
That's pretty good.
So they got a pretty good return on that investment. We just retired a horse up here recently, hashtag Bonnie, who unfortunately wasn't able to break her maiden. She had a throat problem. She's by Henry the Navigator. We've got her on a farm up here in Saratoga County, and we will breed her ourselves this fall.
And talk a little bit about, you say you like the New York bred program, but where are you based as far as running, and who are your trainers?
So we use 3 trainers. We use Leah Germati, who is based in New York all year long. We also use George Weaver, who runs at both Belmont and Saratoga. Does have a string that he keeps at Aqueduct, but he does go to Gulfstream for the winter, so we're able to take advantage of some of the turf activity. And we're also now using Jeremiah Engelhardt, both for the horses that we have to run at Finger Lakes and also here in New York. So we use 3 really young, aggressive trainers, trainers that are well respected in the industry, and trainers that treat our owners equally. They have no idea who owns 20% and who owns 1%, but everybody's welcome at their barns at all times. Sounds
good. And again, we'll look for Alley Oop later in the meet, Majestic Bonnie to come back in the PG Johnson, so we'll be able to see some more Bona Venture Stables runners. But again, remind people you're happy to get some new partners in. There's the website address, and talk a little bit about, before you go, folding new folks into the game.
Yeah, we're always looking for new people. We'll take them out to the stables in the morning. We'll give them a tour. We'll have them spend the day with us at the races and get to understand the game. We do have a few shares left in Alley Oop. It's the only horse right now that we have shares available, but we will be setting up a partnership for the Lonhro filly in the coming near future. And we usually introduce anywhere from 2 to 3 horses per year. So we keep it a pretty low key in that regard, but we're always looking for new people. We're welcome to go to our website, send me an email, and we'll get right back to you.
Sounds good. And of course, you can look for Dan walking around the track and say hello to him as well. Perhaps in the winner's circle. We'll keep our fingers crossed on that, because we wish you a lot of good luck going forward. And I will say, I like Lonhro as a sire. For folks who aren't familiar, a really top runner down in Australia, off to a good start here. So good luck going forward there.
Thank you very much.
Dan Collins from Bona Venture Stables. We'll head to our break. When we come back, it will be Ernie Munich. We'll talk a little racing for this afternoon. Stay tuned.